This video is long overdue. I should have made it a very long time ago, but well, I'm making it now. So I noticed a fairly common pattern in UTME result of candidates, especially of those who score very high in UTME. The pattern is that use of English is usually the lowest of the first score. And it's also quite difficult to see people who score above 70 in use of English UTME. So it makes me ask this question. Is it that use of English is relatively more difficult than other subjects in JAMB? Or is it that students don't just prepare hard enough for it? Or is it that students genuinely don't know how well to prepare for for use of English in UTME? So these are the questions I had and that made me do a little research. So I consulted people who have very good experience with use of English in UTME or have scored very high in the past. And I was able to come up with some common reasons why students do not score high enough in use of English UTME, and also 5 tips that will help you prepare adequately for use of English. Hello again, if you're new here, I'm currently a 4th year medical student of University of Ibadan, and I make videos about medical school admission and personal development. It's going to make my day if you can like this video and also subscribe to the channel. Also share this video with someone you think might also find it helpful. Now to the video. Let's talk about 4 common reasons I figured that make students not perform their best in use of English in UTME. The first reason is underestimating use of English. I've heard quite a number of students say this, that what is there to study in use of English, and they end up not studying or not studying enough. Actually, there are quite a number of things to study in use of English. English is guided by rules, and to use it properly you need to know those rules, and these rules are almost always the same. So learning these rules will help you use English properly. It will not just help you have a good score in English, but also make you a better user of English. Second reason is overwhelming study requirements, and this is just almost opposite to the previous point. Why some people think there is nothing to study in English, some other people think there is just too much to study in English and they end up doing nothing. It's quite understandable. You'll be asked what are nearest in meaning to a particular word, words that are opposite in meaning. You'll be asked to interpret some words, the meaning. Just imagine that's just one part of use of English, but imagine how many words there are. There's an exhaustive list of words. Question: how am I supposed to know the meaning of all these words so that if I come across these words in the exam, I'm going to be able to answer it correctly? But there's a solution to this actually. You do not have to study everything. You just have to know what exactly you need to study. And I'm going to talk about this later in the video. Next reason why students don't do well is not giving enough time to use of English. I've fallen victim of this, and it's understandable. Everybody is always thinking of, oh, physics is there, I need to study physics, I need to study chemistry, maths is there, or government is there, literature is there, and they give, especially science students, they give very little attention to use of English, and this reflects almost always in the result. They do very well in the 3 other subjects and do poorly in use of English. I think you can give a little more time to use of English, and remember that the 4 subjects you are writing, it will be aggregated together and you have an aggregate score. And let me tell you, what is going to be considered is the aggregate score. Nobody is going to be looking at your individual subject. If it's like score 100 in maths and 100 in physics and score very low score in the other 2, if your aggregate is low, it will still affect your chances of getting admission or your opportunities you are going to get in university. Because I don't know, I've mentioned this before, that getting a high JAMB score, getting a high UTME score also increase your chances of getting scholarships when you get into university. And the last, which is the most important reason why some students, or a good number of students, don't do well in English is because of the poor background in English. Many of us, we do not attend a school where we learn a lot of English. Many of us have to teach ourselves English by ourselves, But there are some people that are very lucky to have attended school where the teachers are very great English users and they taught you the fundamentals of English. And it's important, English is just built on. It's something you've been learning since primary school, even nursery school. And if you don't have a good foundation in English, by the time you're writing exams, it can be quite difficult. But that's not the end. It's something you can take a deliberate effort towards improving. I have very, very much improved my use of English and I'm still improving. And I believe you can do the same. This is not just for the exam sake, but even beyond the exam. It's a very good thing to be able to use your language properly. Now let's talk about the solution, the 5 tips on how to improve your English and score higher in use of English UTME. The first one is do not underestimate use of English. Like I've said before, at the end of the day, it is your aggregate score that is going to be considered. So if you can use of English to boost your general score, why not? I want you to give more time, give a little more time to it. Even if you're going to be spending more time studying other subjects, which is understandable, you should at least increase the time you spend studying English too. The second tip is to use JAMB tailored materials for use of English. Yes, there are textbooks which I came across which are really tailored towards JAMB, because use of English is actually very large. There are a lot of textbooks on use of English. There are a lot of textbooks you would have come across now, and it's insane to try to read all those textbooks, but there are like textbooks that are actually tailored and made for JAMB students. One of them which I found really helpful was Invisible Teacher by Delia Shade. He also wrote another one, A to Z, by the same person, Delia Shade. This textbook, it's a small size textbook, and it has the different parts you're going to come across in your use of English in your exam, and it has explanation on how to best approach this part. I think that book is going to be helpful if you can read it and actually try to understand what the man is telling you. The next step is to understand that use of English in UTME has the different parts. It has the comprehension part, it has the lexis and structure, it also has the oral English, and the approach to this part are different. Actually, when you check this textbook I've recommended, talked about how to approach comprehension passage, like the different tips you need to know on how to better read it fast, how to comprehend sentences fast. Also, in terms of lexis and structures, there were some tips I learned on how to do antonyms, how to do word nearest and meaning, how to fill in the brackets, and in oral English too. A lot of tips you can get in the book, but do you have to actually read the book? No, you don't have to. There are tutorials, there are YouTube videos. There are a lot of YouTube videos you can find for free that will explain different parts. You can also type on Google. There are a lot of resources on the internet if you do not want to read the textbook or you feel it's too late. You could also meet people you know are better than you, and they could teach you how to approach this different parts. Maybe, I'm not sure, but maybe I'm going to make a research and actually talk about how to approach the different parts and use of English. Maybe that will be a useful video. If you want me to make that, please put that in the comment section and I'll consider it. The fourth tip is to practice a lot of past questions. This applies to all subjects, not just use of English. The more you practice, the better off you're going to be, the more familiar you're going to be with how use of English questions are set and how to best approach them. In fact, there are some parts in use of English I never read. I learned how to answer them just by practicing past questions. One part is emphatic stress. It is very simple. There's a pattern to it. Once you see how it is answered in like 2 or 3 years of past questions, you just automatically know how to answer it. And I don't have to read any textbook on that. And also during the process of practicing past questions, you're going to read compression passages, you're going to see a lot of words. You might just be lucky that you're going to come across a similar comprehension passage in your exam, or words you've come across before and what you're going to see in your exam, and 1 mark is worth any. Like I always say, don't joke with 1 mark. The last point I'm going to say is to generally improve your use of English. And this is not just restricted to your preparation for UTME, it should go beyond it. Ways I personally improve my use of English is to read books. I would rather even watch movies where they speak English and pay attention using subtitles. When you come across a new word, check the meaning of the word and also make it a point to try to use the word anywhere applicable. You know, it can be awkward. It is always awkward for me anytime I come across a new word and I want to use it. I feel like people will be like, okay, what is wrong with this guy? Why is he always speaking unnecessary grammar? Or even worse, I'm always scared I will use the word wrongly. But then I'll go to the dictionary and check how the word is being used, or even put it on Google. I'll see examples of how to use such words. When I use the word like once or twice or 3 times, the word becomes part of me. It becomes a new part of my vocabulary, and that way I'm generally improving. I know my use of English right now is not the same way it used to be some years back, and I think the point of change for me was when I was preparing for my UTME, and ever since I've taken it as a point to always try to improve how I use English, my intonation, my accent, and so on. And it's been amazing so far, and I invite you to also do the same. Besides your UTME, which is your priority now, also try to improve your use of English generally. So that's the end of this video. I don't know how helpful this particular video is for you. I believe you got 1 or 2 tips if you are still watching up to this point. So again, it's going to make my day if you can please like this video if you've not done so, subscribe and share with someone you think will also find it helpful. Thank you. I'll see you another day.